Hello, my name is Fran McLean, and today I will be discussing the science of reading. Okay, so the science of reading. What is it and why is it important? So let's get started with describing what the science of reading is. So the science of reading is based on extensive research completed by experts of various disciplines. Now, this research explains how we learn to read. These studies have been completed by experts who speak different languages, and all of their results have been the same. So why is this important? Well, the science of reading is important because it helps us understand the cognitive processes that are necessary for reading acquisition to be successful. Okay, now we're going to go over our 5 essential elements of reading instruction. So, our first element is phonemic awareness. Our second element is vocabulary. Our third is fluency. Our fourth is comprehension. And our fifth is phonics or word study. Now, phonemic awareness. So what is phonemic awareness? Phonemic awareness is the ability to identify and to manipulate individual sounds in words that are spoken. Okay, and we also do this along with letters of the alphabet. And you do this by hearing those sounds that are associated with those letters that are being seen. Okay, now a couple of instructional practices or strategies for phonemic awareness can be focusing on individual phonemes within a lesson, or making the phoneme memorable by using images that a student will be able to remember whenever that word is brought up again. Okay, we can also apply learning to lessons with reading and writing real words that are used within the word. Next, we have phonics. Phonics can be defined as teaching people how to read and write. Okay, this is something that's really important for early readers. A couple instructional strategies can be blending, and blending is when sounds are associated with letters, and those letters are printed words. Now, there's 2 different types of blending. Okay, there's sequential blending. Now, sequential blending is when a reader can scan letters of a single syllable word moving from left to right. Okay, and whenever they're doing this, they are saying the sound of each letter. And then they're going to blend those sounds all together and they're going to create a word. Now we have hierarchical blending. Hierarchical blending is when you divide a whole word into pronunciation units around the vowels, and this helps signal the number of syllables. So say I say the word backpack. You can do something such as clapping. You can say back, pack. Now that's how a student will be able to determine that that word is a multisyllabic word, meaning that it has more than one syllable. So in this instance, the word backpack would be 2-syllable. It will be a 2-syllable word. Now we're going to go on to fluency. Fluency is something that is very important. Okay, now some people, our textbook describes fluency as accurate, effortless, and automatic word identification. So you're going to see a word and you're going to automatically know what that word is, okay? So some different instructional strategies or practices for fluency can include model reading. Now with model reading, you're being exposed to various models of oral reading, okay? And these models can include a teacher who is reading something orally to a class, And they're doing it in a way that isn't very fluent. So it's going to be disfluent reading. Okay, now this will show students some of the differences that can be found whenever we are practicing our fluency. Now, the teacher may read slow or without any expressions. Okay, now this is going to help our students better their fluency so that they can see a good example versus a bad example of what their fluency should be whenever they're reading. Then we have repeated oral reading. Repeating oral reading would be reading the same text 3 times. Now, research has shown that this is effective because it leads to automaticity. Now, automaticity is automatic information processing. So after a student has read a text 3 times, those words become instant. So they can instantly pick up the passage and read it without any struggles with any words. Okay, then we're going to talk about wide reading. Now with wide reading, students are able to read different types of text. Okay, and these different type of text can include different genres. Now with this will increase their experience with new materials and help them become it will help them gain more experience with new material because they'll have different experiences. Okay, we're going to go on to vocabulary. Now, vocabulary is something that's important because vocabulary is words that are used in language. So whenever students are learning new vocabulary, they are learning new words within the language that they're already speaking. And there's 4 different types of vocabulary. So this is just kind of a refresher for some people. So our first category of vocabulary can include listening vocabulary. Now, listening vocabulary are words that we hear and understand. Okay, now we have speaking vocabulary. Speaking vocabulary are words that are used appropriately when we are speaking. Okay, third, we have reading vocabulary words. Okay, now reading vocabulary words are words that we can identify and understand when we are going through the reading process. Now, and last but not least, we have writing vocabulary. Now, writing vocabulary are words that we know and use appropriately when we are in the writing process. Oh, sorry. Now, some different types of strategies that can be used when working with vocabulary. You can use things such as a graphic organizer, word banks, or word sorts. Now, those are fun little activities that can be used to help students gain a better understanding of vocabulary that's being taught. Okay, now we're going to go over comprehension. So what is comprehension? Comprehension is intentional thinking during interactions between a reader and the text. Now, there are 3 instructional strategies or practices that can be used when working with comprehension. We can use we can teach text structures. Okay, now teaching students about text structures is going to help them understand the use of important vocabulary and concepts to help them gain a better understanding of what they're learning. Then we have graphic organizers again. Now, graphic organizers are helpful because they help students understand how the text is being organized by the author. Then we have question-answer relationships. Now, question-answer relationships is an important strategy that can be used for comprehension because it helps identify the types of questions that are being asked. Now, if a student can identify the type of question being asked, they will better be able to use that information that is given to them to answer the question. Now we're going to go over the 5-block reading/writing essential model. Okay, now this model is made up of 5 different components that equal up to 180 minutes. Okay, now these components are not going to be completed all within the same time. Okay, our first component of this model is writing. Now the writing process will be about 30 minutes long. Okay, the teacher will explain and model word choice. And they will also go over sentence fluency. And this can be done by doing tasks such as writing letters, poetry, or even recipes to do something fun. Now, fluency is also 30 minutes. There's going to be explicit instructions. So it's going to be ambiguous teaching that is broken into small steps. Okay, now breaking the process into small steps allows for being able to check for understanding. And this type of support can be done through scaffolding. And some things that you can have the students do would be like wide reading or a reader's theater. Now for comprehension will be about 30 minutes. This will be a whole group instruction, and the instruction will be explicit. So what a teacher is going to do, the teacher will explain which comprehension strategy is being learned during this process and why it is important that this information is being learned. Okay, and then finally, the teacher will explain when and where the strategy can be applied in their learning. Now we have Wordwork. Now, Wordwork is usually around 30 minutes. With Wordwork, you're teaching younger students how to recognize letters of the alphabet. Now, they are going to need to be able to recognize both uppercase and lowercase letters. Okay, then you would work on their phonological and phonemic awareness. Okay, so when you're doing this, you are training students to hear the sounds that are spoken in words. Then students will work on recognizing and spelling high-frequency sight words. Okay, now once they have completed that process, they will work on decoding and spelling simple CV, CVC, CVVC, and CVCE words. Okay, and once all of that has been worked on and reviewed, they'll go on to reviewing prefixes, suffixes, and types of word tense. Okay, then we have vocabulary instruction. So the new vocabulary words will be introduced so that the students will have a better understanding of what they are learning. Then we're going to go on to small group differentiated reading instruction and practice. Now this is the longest part of the model. This is 60 minutes. So within that 60 minutes, there will be a guided reading program with the appropriate type of text that's based on the students. And this is going to help the students work on their fluency.